Welcome to my comments. This is, to quote a famous philosopher, in my comments box. And, I'm trying to kind of diplomatically straddle that divide. Nubarino, what do you think on the rise of Britain First within the UK? Well, obviously I take the existence of all far-right groups very seriously. Britain First, I have to say, I don't think it's on the rise. I wouldn't overstate how significant Britain First is. They hate Muslims so much that their candidate for mayor in London, who got a derisory, pathetic vote, incidentally, the people of London told him where to stick his hatred, actually turned his back on Sadiq Khan because he was a Muslim when Sadiq Khan was doing his victory speech.
You stay classy, San Diego.
They issued a press release saying that they were going to start direct action against Muslims in elected public office like Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London. And that is extremely intimidating, to say the least. A horrible, bigoted campaign. I don't think it's got any place in Britain whatsoever. So it should be taken very seriously because they're a threat to Muslims, to people of different backgrounds. But I don't think the majority of people support them. Lots of people have concerns about immigration that we should always discuss and debate. But I think most people look at Britain First for what they are, which is a sad collection of losers and thugs. When I say they're thugs, I've got experience of dealing with Britain First supporters because I made the cardinal error, online error, of holding up a whiteboard to say why I support remaining within the European Union. Some far-right so-and-sos, they photoshopped it. That went viral on the far right of the internet. And Britain First were amongst those who published the Photoshop photo. And it was just full of comments calling for me to be shot in the face, punched, my jaw broken, beaten up, killed, tortured. Yeah, it was lovely stuff. So, I mean, I'm not sure it was a very sophisticated debate on the part of Britain First supporters. Derek Chapman, what breed is your cat? Isn't Abyssinian by any chance? No, Kearsey here, or Keir, named after the first leader of the Labour Party, Keir Hardie, obviously, is actually a blue Burmese cat. And he's a very elegant mob, but a bit of a champagne socialist cat to choose. The reason I got a blue Burmese is because they're very dog-like in their demeanour. I mean, look at him. He's just basically a giant cuddly teddy bear, aren't you? But he's also a huge amount of work because he wants attention pretty much constantly. But what's funny is, partly because of these videos, I get people stopping me in the street to ask how Keir is. Spencer Miller, hello. Following the state opening of Parliament, what's your opinion of the monarch? My opinion of the monarchy and the monarch are different. I've got absolutely nothing whatsoever against the Queen Elizabeth II, who, has overwhelming support and respect from the people of this country. There's no question of that whatsoever. And I'm sure, by all accounts, she's a very decent, honourable person. My own personal opinion, and it is my own view, and I know it's different from the majority of people in Britain, is that I would prefer an elected head of state. I believe that if you're in power, you should be accountable, and the monarch at least still has theoretical powers. My concern about Charles is that the Queen, I think, had a lot of respect because she seemed to kind of be apart, distant from politics. Prince Charles is very different. He's got very overt political views. He's lobbied ministers and a whole range of his personal bugbears. I just don't think an unelected monarch should be intervening in democracy. So that's my preference, but I know that's not where the people are now, and it's nowhere near the top of my priorities. Adam Pye, hello. Is your bike fixed gear, trendy twat? Well, actually, Adam, no. Ha, wrong. It's a single speed bike, thank you very much. Ideal for commuting in London because there aren't really any hills. So it wasn't trendy, it's just because I can't be bothered having to maintain a bike with multiple gears. So get your facts straight, thanks. Corian 1. Is people like Owen Jones who destroyed free speech in the West? I get some intriguing accusations, Corian 1, and that has to be, it's not a top 10 in terms of some of the unbelievable accusations I've had because they are that bad. But I think being personally held responsible for the destruction of free speech in the West. Well, first off, I'm not entirely convinced free speech has been destroyed in the West because look at me, I'm just speaking and saying what I want. And I guess probably you're doing more or less the same thing as well. I think sometimes because people like me object to racism and prejudice and believe that you shouldn't indulge in racist rhetoric towards people of different backgrounds, that somehow is suppressing free speech. If people say things which I disagree with, strongly, then it is my right to say so. And sometimes I've noticed that when people say something quite inflammatory, and then I respond by saying, well, I think that's a really objectionable thing to say, they go, how dare you try and suppress their freedom of speech? And it's kind of like, well, I'm not. They've exercised their freedom of speech to say something I regard as abhorrent, and now I'm going to respond in kind. People should have the right to express themselves, and that includes being offensive. If other people don't like their opinions, they should have the right to respond and say, however passionately or forcefully, how much they disagree with that. People can be insulting if they like. I prefer them not to be, but that is their right to freedom of speech. And where the line is drawn is where people incite hatred in a way that obviously puts people's lives at risk. Is that destroying free speech? No, I don't think it is. I passionately believe in free speech. I just don't believe in inciting hatred. Fake Rebel 5.0. Owen, are you a florist? No, but what's wrong with some flowers? Brighten up the room, don't they? Hey? Smell nice. My cat likes them, you know, so I just think it's nice to, you know, even though the Sun newspaper once suggested I wasn't a proper man because I had flowers in my flat, not ashamed, don't care what the Sun thinks. John de Vialiable. Hello, John. Rod Liddle is a Labour supporter. He is not on the right. You could have found that out if you did your research. The points I was actually making was about The Spectator magazine, which is a conservative magazine which publishes articles like those of Rod Liddle, which are inflammatory and gratuitously offensive. No left-of-centre magazine like The New Statesman publishes that sort of bigotry and would never give a platform to Rod Liddle to do so. Now, regardless of Rod Liddle's contrarian political affiliations, the idea he is on the left is obviously just a nonsense. He spends his time in a conservative magazine attacking people on the left. That's basically the whole function of what he writes. And, you know, it is like some ranting guy in a pub who's had one too many, babbling with these kind of hatreds of socialists and Muslims and all the rest. And the point is that The Spectator magazine should be held to account for what it publishes and what it decides to publish. And it is, as I've said, a magazine which supports the Conservatives. If The Guardian or The New Statesman was publishing that sort of hatred, regardless of the political persuasions of the people they're publishing, I would hold them to account because it is an editorial decision to give a platform to that sort of hatred. And as I've said, The Spectator magazine, The Spectator has published articles defending the neo-Nazi Golden Dawn in Greece. It needs to be held to account for what it does. And the point about this is they go on about, you know, Jeremy Corbyn's leadership and Corbynistas, and they wrongly, absolutely outrageously say they're all a bunch of anti-Semites when the vast majority abhor anti-Semitism, when they're failing to look at their own, keep their own house in order. Thanks for all the comments, everyone. As per, they were a pretty good selection. Do keep them coming. I'll answer as many as I can. Spread the word, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.